This is a fever. This is a dream. This is a fever dream. Football is constantly exceeding what we believe to be possible. However, there have been a few moments that just took it a little bit too far, and I refuse to acknowledge their existence. Welcome back to Icepack Sports, the internet's coldest football show. I'm your host Ian, and today we're going to be talking about 10 moments in football that felt like fever dreams. From twisted transfers to glitched goalkeepers, these moments are just too much for my tiny brain to comprehend, and as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist. So let's jump right in. First up, we've got Stoke Alona. There was a real period in time when Stoke City had the most Champions League winners in the entire Premier League. Stoke City is meant to be defined by the likes of Rory Delap and Cold Rainy Tuesdays, not La Masia prodigies. If the absurdity of Stoke City signing players from the likes of Barcelona and Bayern Munich wasn't enough, just take a look at some of the totally logical results they picked up. 2-0 Man City, 2-0 Man U, 6-1 Liverpool. This all felt like some big inside joke that I wasn't a part of, but thank God it all came crashing down and eventually returned back to normal. All they need to do is rehire Tony Pulis, and we can all pretend that that never happened. If you think Stoke City playing free-flowing, attacking football is odd, it gets even weirder when you look at the next addition on our list. Whatever you want to call the football revolution that's currently going down at Burnley. 7 years ago today, Burnley beat Liverpool 1-0 with a record-winning 19.4% possession. That is proper Burnley heritage. Today I can tell you with a straight face that Burnley holds a higher average possession than Barcelona. And if that isn't proof that this is all a simulation, then I don't know what is. Hiring Vincent Kompany in the first place? Already out of character for Burnley. The most foreign manager they've had in their 141 years as a club was Irish. And unlike their usual approach of finding the most British foreigners possible, like the Austrian Ashley Barnes and Kiwi Chris Wood, Kompany's legit. He's actually spent time outside of England for purposes other than a yacht party in Ibiza. If it comes down to blocking out its existence or admitting that the new home of Pep Guardiola's footballing philosophy is Burnley, I'm taking the former any day. Next up, we've got the 2017 Chinese exodus. Witsel, Carrasco, Oscar, Teixeira. Like Bournemouth at a Liverpool fire sale, China came in ready to overpay for any shred of talent they could get their hands on. But as quickly as the money came pouring in, it dried right up, leaving fans wondering what in God's name just happened. As a Chelsea fan, I was not complaining when we pulled in nearly 100 million euros for Oscar and Ramirez. And it's a shame that they put restrictions on foreign players, because I really think that Bakayoko and Lukaku would look excellent in that Shanghai Red. Speaking of China, next on the list is Paulinho to Barca. Signing Paulinho for 40 million after a few good performances with the national team was odd. Him becoming a key piece in Barca's domestic double, even more odd. Shipping him back to the same team just a year later for 42 million just shatters any sense of logic. It's not the only time Barca have made a shady deal involving a Brazilian midfielder, and Barca being involved in shady financial dealings is actually the least surprising thing about this move. People mocked Barca for refusing to spend on Jean-Michel Seri and then dropping a bag on Paulinho anyways. But in some twisted reality, that actually ended up working out perfectly, with Seri's form dropping off a cliff since then, and Paulinho actually proving to be great value. With stints ranging from Lithuania to China, historians will look back on Paulinho's career with the same confusion that we have towards the pyramids of Giza. Next up, we've got Falcao and Pato to Chelsea. Look, Chelsea are no strangers to washed up and underwhelming strikers, however these two took it too far. I could barely wrap my head around Eto'o and Higuain's periods at Chelsea, and you can't convince me that these two weren't just figments of my imagination. You can't look at either of these two in a Chelsea shirt and think, yeah, that looks about right. I've heard of clubs making a signing to keep their star players happy, but this one almost feels like we signed one injury-prone aging striker to keep our other injury-prone aging striker happy on the bench. I know Chelsea thrives in chaos, but it really feels like we're constantly teetering on the edge of organized chaos and just pure self-destruction. Next up, we've got Kyle Walker-Peters. After selling Kyle Walker to Man City, I thought I was losing it when I saw this guy's name in Tottenham's starting line. I always knew Daniel Levy was cheap, but finding this guy so they didn't have to print out new jerseys is a new low. Even FIFA does a better name of renaming their regens. At least give him something a little bit less suspicious, like Kai Walter. So, quick message for whoever's running the simulation, got a little lazy with this one. I've let all the Adama Traores and Moussa Dembeles that keep popping up slide, but if you want to keep this show going, you've got to get a little bit more creative. Next up, we've got bald American goalkeepers. Considering how few Americans have made it to the top leagues over the years, it seems like a little bit too much of a coincidence just how many of them have been bald goalkeepers that end up in the Premier League mid-table. I mean, come on, you can't tell me these are two different people. Bald American keepers to mid-table Premier Leagues is a path about as well traveled as Brazilian-wide players to prison. And all this begs the question, does shaving your head increase your chances of becoming a pro goalkeeper, or does becoming a pro goalkeeper increase your chances of going bald? Guess there's only one way to find out. Aston Villa, here I come. And moving on, we've got the entire 2002 World Cup. A World Cup with a third place match between Turkey and South Korea is about as out of place as Ashley Cole at Roma, but the harder you look, the more absurd it gets. From a drug smuggling referee to unprecedented levels of pettiness, not even script writers could make this stuff up. Over the years, there have been no lack of corrupt referees, but they've never been this blatantly obvious about it. I thought maybe Qatar could challenge that, given how they were granted the tournament in the first place, but even they knew it was too risky. The South Korea-Italy match was the pinnacle of it all. From red cards to disallowed goals, every single major call was given the wrong way. And if for some reason you still needed more convincing, the exact same referee was suspended for match fixing in 2002 and then arrested for smuggling 6 kilos of heroin in 2010. And to make matters worse, Italian club Perugia fired back by terminating the contract of Korean goalscorer An Jung-hwan. All of this feels like it was written for an over-the-top sitcom, yet somehow it's reality. Quick reminder to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. Each subscriber represents a fan in the IcePack Stadium, and I dream of filling the biggest stadium in the world. But for now we reside in something a little more humble, the Vilhelmsøy Stadium in eastern Iceland. Once we outgrow the capacity, we can move to something a little more exciting, so let's push for that upgrade. Next up, we've got 2014 Roma. In a strategy unseen since Spartak Moscow with Emenike and Wellington, Roma based their entire transfer policy off of creating the sweatiest FIFA team possible. With Ibarbo, Doumbia, Gervinho, they succeeded, but at what cost? As someone who grew up with an unhealthy addiction to FIFA 14, I can tell you exactly at what cost. In exchange for their 9 combined goals for Roma, many broken controllers, my sanity, and probably a mild gambling addiction. Maybe if I didn't come up against Ibarbo and Doumbia every game, I wouldn't have thrown FIFA points at EA in hopes of packing Ronaldo. And last but not least, the European Super League debacle. Somehow in a season played in front of cardboard fans, the most surreal period was the 48-hour saga of the Super League. With Bruno Fernandes' iconic "Dreams Can't Be Buy" and Chelsea being the first team to pull out, the glorious downfall of the Super League can be summarized well with one article. Heartbreaking, the worst person you know just made a great point. Not many things can unify fans across the board. Even getting Chelsea fans to agree on something is a task in itself.
Mount in, mount out, mount in.
Yet the greedy owners can pat themselves on the back because they had rival fans putting their differences aside to try and stop the Super League in its tracks. And with the overwhelming hate that is usually directed at each other, solely directed at the owners, it didn't take long for them to retreat with their tails between their legs. And that concludes our list. Football is full of underdog stories and moments that push the boundaries of possibility, but these just took it too far. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any others, and as always, thanks for watching, and stay icy.